If you're somebody that's looking to get started with investing, I always like to say that the first real step, before you even think about what stocks you want to buy and how you want to build your portfolio, the first decision that you have to make is where you want to invest. And I like to call this choosing your broker. And it's funny because I feel like I did a couple of videos on this quite recently on the channel, comparing some of Canada's largest brokers. But because this space is changing so fast, there's all these new features being added. In this video, I want to do a full walkthrough of some of Canada's most popular online brokers. We'll talk about the pros and cons. I'll share with you what I use and for what reason, and ultimately try to find which is the best online investment platform for you. What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. My name is Brandon. If you are new here, if you're new to investing, be sure to subscribe. We post a new video every week, and you can learn more about our investing academy. We do offer some training courses on how to get started with investing and how to build up your portfolio. That'll be that first link down in the description below. But in today's video, we're going to be going over in particular some names such as Questrade. We're going to talk about Wealthsimple. We're going to talk about a broker. We're going to talk about Wealthsimple Trade, which is actually different from Wealthsimple, despite the name. And then we're going to be talking about the banks. And by this, I mean TD Direct Investing, CIBC, Investor's Edge, Scotia iTrade. I'm going to kind of clump these all into one. I will just say that as a reminder, this is just one approach, the do-it-yourself online approach at investing. If you are new to this space and you're looking to get started, you can always go into your bank and speak with an advisor. You can take the traditional route, but this is a video for somebody that wants to do that hands-on do-it-yourself approach, where you have more control over your investments. If you're comfortable and you know what you're doing, you can save a lot on fees by stripping out the professional advice and essentially managing things on your own. But just to make that clear, that's what we're going to be covering in today's video. And we'll start here with broker number one, which happens to be Questrade. And this is the broker that I do personally use. It's also my favorite option here in Canada, and I will explain why as we summarize at the end of this video. But Questrade is Canada's largest, and they're also the fastest growing. That's what they claim to be, the fastest growing online broker in Canada. A question that I will answer right away, and I know this question comes up all the time, is are these brokerages safe? Is my money safe to invest on a platform like this? And all of the ones that we'll be talking about in today's video, they are all covered and they're all governed by the proper oversight bodies. In particular, the two bodies that you'll hear about are what's called IIROC, as well as the CIPF, the Canadian Investor Protection Fund. And essentially that means that if something were to happen, like one of these brokerages went bankrupt or one of these platforms was a big scam, something along the lines of that, there are oversight bodies. I believe the CIPF insures about $1 million per account. I'll have to touch up on that and I'll pop it up on the screen for you guys to see. But essentially your money is safe with these platforms, or at least there's coverage the same way there would be at your big local banks. Now, Questrade to me is the truest form of a do-it-yourself brokerage. And they do as well offer something called Quest Wealth portfolios. This is something that I've actually seen them promoting quite a bit recently. They're making a big push for this, where they will actually manage your money for you, and you can pay them a fee, an annual fee to have that service. But I believe what most people are looking for when they do hear about Questrade is the true self-directed do-it-yourself approach. And it's important to touch on here about pricing. One of the things that I would say with Questrade is that I think it's very reasonable. There are cheaper alternatives, as we'll look at in a second, but I think that overall it is a very reasonable pricing. And what I mean by that is that if you want to go out and buy and sell stocks with Questrade, you can trade stocks for as low as 1 cent per share. You'll notice a minimum of $4.95 to a maximum of $9.95. In other words, if you're out buying a small number of shares, let's say you go out and buy 5 shares or 10 shares, that would get bumped up to that $4.95 minimum, $4.95. If you're out buying 1,000 plus shares of a certain investment, you will be capped out at the $9.95. So that's the range that you'll be dealing with when it comes to buying stocks with Questrade, which again, there are cheaper options, but I think is quite reasonable. I'll touch on that again at the summary. What I love about Questrade is that they do offer ETF purchases for free. ETFs being exchange traded funds. If you are looking to take that index investing approach and going out and buying a number of diversified ETFs, which is a great, very popular, and in my opinion, a great option for beginners, you can go out and purchase them without having to pay a commission. Now, it's important to note that when you sell the ETF, you can buy it for free. You don't pay anything. When you sell the ETF, you do pay a cost to sell that. So it's going to be the same as stocks, $4.95 at the minimum end, $9.95 at the maximum end. But that is an important thing, and it's a feature that I believe to be very important with Questrade. With Questrade, you are eligible to open up all of the major accounts. And by that, I mean the TFSA, the RRSP, margin accounts, of course. You can actually open up things like an education account for your kids, an RESP, really a wide range of account types here, which is great all around. It is compatible on both laptop and mobile. I'm not personally one that uses the app all too much. I have placed trades on there for times that you are on the go, but I do primarily all of my stuff on the desktop, on the laptop. But it is nice that they do have it compatible, that you can use it with the mobile option. Within the platform, they do offer research and watch list services, where you can go and compile your own stuff and kind of look up some stocks. Like I've mentioned on previous videos, this is something that I don't personally use. I've kind of looked over it, never found it to be too helpful. I can always rely on some other sources for my source of research and watch list. But if you do use those, you have any comments on it, leave it down in the comment section below. Now, a couple important things to mention with Questrade. And we'll start with this one. This is one that a lot of beginners do find a bit troubling. There is an initial deposit minimum of $1,000. So you do have to start when you're opening up your account by transferring in a minimum of $1,000. I know that you actually can, what you can do is you can transfer in less. You can do 500, you can do 700, but your account won't be eligible to actually trade until you reach that $1,000 threshold. This may be an issue for some of you guys, maybe not, but there is the $1,000 threshold. Now, another thing to point, which I think is important, is the inactivity fee. And with Questrade, essentially, if you just had your account sitting stagnant, they don't charge any annual fees, which is good. They don't charge you simply for using an RSP or TFSA, but if you don't do anything within your account, they are subject to a $25 per quarter inactivity fee. Now, this is quite easy to avoid. For example, if you're under 25 years old, if you place a trade during the quarter or even you deposit $150, it will waive the fee. I'll include this link down below. It actually says here that if you maintain equity, if you have a portfolio size of invested assets of over $1,000, which is just that minimum there, that will waive the fee. It's not something that I think will be an issue for most people, but I feel like it is important to mention that just in case somebody has money in their account that they're planning to leave completely stagnant. Questrade as well does have what I believe to be, let's call it a good support system. I wouldn't say they're amazing or it's anything special, but they do have access to a online chat service, which I've used a number of times. You can go in and speak with somebody in a chat room regarding pretty much anything. Questions on a stock that whether they allow it, questions with your account. What does this mean? What does that mean? To me, it's a benefit when you do have someone that you can speak to personally, rather than just relying on an email and waiting back a week or plus to hear back. That's something that really ticks me off. And that's one of the things that we'll talk about with one of the upcoming brokerages. Having the online chat service, I'd say it's pretty good. It's overall what I believe to be the best all-around platform in terms of the user experience, in terms of the pricing, which I believe is reasonable. It's overall a good platform. You can see why it is Canada's online, the fastest growing online broker. If you do decide to go with Questrade, I do have a custom link down below this video, And by using that link, you'll actually get $50 in commission-free trades if you do sign up using that link. Now, moving along into Wealthsimple, which is a completely different style of platform. In fact, this is is probably their most well-known and well-used robo-advisor service. And by robo-advisor, I know this is for many people a loose term and they don't really know what that means. Essentially, what a robo-advisor does is they help build your portfolio for you. In other words, they're going to go ahead and you're going to go through kind of a survey kind of thing. And depending on your answers, depending on your risk tolerance, depending on your profile that they assign you to, they will suggest a certain balance for your portfolio. And this is a great option for somebody that the term that they use here is for somebody that wants to put their investments on autopilot. And how it works with Wealthsimple is that once they suggest to you a balance or a type of portfolio, you're going to go out and they'll hand select a number of ETFs, so index funds, to hit that certain portfolio that they built for you. And it's kind of like when I mentioned there, the Quest Wealth service. Questrade is also offering this aspect where they'll suggest a portfolio for you and then use ETFs. So this is a great option for somebody that likes to take the approach of index investing, where you will be using funds to diversify and build up your portfolio. Now, it is important to note here that you don't have as much flexibility in terms of going out and picking individual stocks. If you're using Wealthsimple and using this robo-advisor platform, you're going to be going out and having a portfolio built up of ETFs. Now, in order to use this robo-advisor service and to get help with your portfolio being managed, essentially, this does come at a cost, and it's about 0.5% per year that you're paying Wealthsimple in order for them to help construct and build your portfolios. You'll notice that as you go up in terms of account size, that does get reduced down to 0.4%, etc. But you're essentially paying 0.5% in fees to use the robo-advisor service. And as long as that's understood and you know you're paying this additional fee, I really, really love Wealthsimple in terms of the actual platform. I love the layout. I love the simplicity. I'd go as far as saying I like it more than Questrade. It's much more modern, and that whole minimalistic approach kind of catering to what I believe is their prime market, which is millennials and the younger people. I definitely don't like their commercials.
So what can you tell me about investments?
What can I tell you? Yeah. I was hoping it would be the other way around.
I mean, I just don't like talking about money that much. It's kind of boring.
If it's a good coupon, I will clip it.
Thank God I haven't seen those for quite a while. This as well is compatible on desktop and mobile, which is great to have that flexibility. Like Questrade, you can open up all the major accounts, TFSA, RSP, and what's really great about Wealthsimple, this is one of the things that I really, really love, is that there are no minimum account initial balances. You don't have to start with that $1,000 threshold. You can start with $50 or $150, which is a great starting place for beginners when you are looking to kind of just get started, get your feet wet with investing. If you are somebody that is really wanting help with getting your portfolio built and you want that guidance for someone to actually suggest a portfolio for you, and you don't mind paying that fee, the 0.5% management fee, I think that Wealthsimple is a great platform to take the robo-advisor approach. Now, that leads in to our next one being Wealthsimple Trade. And this is actually kind of a branch off. This is really the newest option in Canada, growing a lot in popularity because Wealthsimple Trade is the first commission-free platform in Canada, as well no minimum account balances. So very similar to Robinhood over in the States, where you can just get started and pay no commissions to buy and sell stocks, which is absolutely crazy. And as I mentioned, when there were cheaper options out there, when it comes to commissions and cost of investing, this is without a doubt the cheapest option that we have here in Canada. Now, one thing to note with Wealthsimple Trade, which by the way is independent of Wealthsimple, you have the robo-advisor being Wealthsimple, and then you have Wealthsimple Trade. Wealthsimple Trade is strictly a mobile platform. You can't log on your computer and use your computer, your desktop to go use your things, to go access your account. everything is done through your mobile, which for some may be a big deal. For some, it won't. For me personally, I wouldn't mind having everything on my mobile phone, but I do like to have the flexibility as well. That'll ultimately come down to your personal preference. Now, if you've seen some of my previous videos on Wealthsimple Trade and comparing the different brokers in Canada, you guys know that my issue with Wealthsimple Trade, as nice as it sounds, commission-free, no minimum account balances, my main issue was that at the time, they were not offering registered accounts. You couldn't open up a TFSA, you couldn't open up an RRSP. It was only taxable accounts, which to me was just, it wasn't worth it to then save on commissions, but then worry about paying taxes when you have these tax sheltered plans that you could rely on or that you could utilize using other brokerages. Now, a big reason for updating this video is that Wealthsimple Trade does offer TFSAs and RRSPs, which in all honesty, that came a lot faster than I personally expected. I expected them to kind of push it off and say, yeah, it's coming, and a year or two goes by before it coming. They implemented this really quick, which is, again, an absolute game changer. And the fact that you can use registered investments with Wealthsimple Trade, to me, this totally bumps up the attractiveness of this platform. No commissions, no account minimums. This is a great platform for beginners that want to go out and get started with investing. And, I kind of think to this more for people that are looking to dabble their feet. Again, being kind of catered towards millennials and the younger audience, you can just use your phone, send some money over, buy and sell stocks without paying a commission. It's kind of an alternative, and in my opinion, a very suitable alternative to Questrade, where of course you're getting the cheaper costs at the price of it being strictly a mobile platform. Now, I'll give a couple more thoughts as we summarize this video on Wealthsimple Trade, but we'll move on here to our final category of online brokerages, and I like to call these the online banks, okay? So again, this would include TD Direct Investing, CIBC Investors Edge, BMO Investors Line. I'll pop them all up on the screen. To me, I do kind of like to categorize these all in one bunch. And these are brokers that I've personally never used, simply due to the fact that they are expensive. And of the options that we talked about today, the banks do charge the most in terms of commissions and account balances, to the point where when I was starting out with investing, it totally deterred me from getting started when I didn't have as much money and I was just looking for a place for a beginner to start. Now, what I love about these platforms is what I'll call ease of access. They are so great in terms of setting them up. Of course, you're right, they're integrated with your bank. So in many cases, you can walk in and tell the teller you want to open up an account. They're all integrated within the app. So many times within your CIBC app, you can just toggle to your investment tab, or within your TD app. It's super great if you want to have your stuff all in one place, all under one umbrella. It is actually what my girlfriend uses, and I've had the chance to look at her phone. I'm so envious of it. The app on CIBC Investors Edge, 10 times, 20 times better than Questrade's old, outdated app. So that's one thing that I really, really love about the bank platforms, is that you are getting these very nice layouts and accessibility, but you are paying a lot in commissions. And what I mean by that is that the typical commission that you're going to run at, whether we're talking about TD Direct, whether we're talking about RBC, it's somewhere up at that $9.99 range. So about $10 per trade, which in comparison is about double that of Questrade. And then of course, using Wealthsimple Trade, which is free, you're paying $10 even if you go out and buy one share of a small company. It's kind of a set flat rate fee, they call it in most cases. As well, they do have these pretty high account balances to avoid fees. In most cases, and again, I am generalizing here because it'd be too much to go into each one individually, but in most cases, you're looking at a $15,000 floor for an account size to have no fees. Anything below that would be subject to a fee, similar to Questrade's inactivity fee, but I will include this link down below. There's also ways that you can go out and avoid this. For example, if your combined assets at TD in this case, exceed 15,000, well, you're in the clear. If you complete 3 or more trades that incur a commission, so in other words, you spend $30 on commissions during the quarter, that will waive the fee. Again, it's not something that's unavoidable, but it can be just a little bit more of a hassle, especially for somebody that's starting out that doesn't have as much money. If you are already quite established, and let's say you're maybe a little bit older with some nice assets at the bank, this could be a completely logical option because you're so close, because maybe your relationship with the bank and you do exceed these minimums and you don't mind paying the $10 per trade. But aside from that, I do believe that using the banks is a tough one for beginners with small amounts of money that are looking to get started out. But to wrap up and summarize this video, I'll share with you guys here my final thoughts, as well as why I use the broker that I do, and hopefully guide you guys in the right direction in terms of which may be the best for you. I'll start by saying this. Choosing your broker is a very important step in your investment process. Ideally, this is where you're going to host your investments and your assets for the next number of years, for the next number of decades. So you need to do your due diligence. You need to do your research on finding which is the best one for you. But at the same token, don't get so caught up and so stressed about which one do I want to use and worry about pinching every penny possible. Like, oh, commissions are cheaper here, or like this and that. What's much more important than that is actually knowing how to invest and working on building up your investment knowledge so that no matter what broker you're using, you still know how to build a portfolio. You still know how to go out and invest with the right mindset and the right strategies. The broker is just one piece. But to wrap this up and kind of conclude all the bits and pieces I was talking about there, if you're somebody that is seeking the help of a robo-advisor, and if you like the idea of having your portfolio built for you and kind of, again, put it on autopilot, but you're okay with paying the 50 basis point fee, Wealthsimple, I believe, is the best option for that. And this is, of course, the Wealthsimple traditional platform, the robo-advisor platform that I'm talking about. I love the overall interface. Like I talked about, I can't argue with the different suggestions that they give you and the ETFs that they suggest to build up your portfolio. I'm also a huge advocate of index investing. I think that it's such a great way to lay back and let your investments grow while you carry on with life. If you want some suggestions in that sense, I would say, hey, lean towards Wealthsimple, again, if you're willing to pay the fee. Now, why I personally use Questrade is because if you can go out, at least my mindset on it is that if you can go out and actually replicate what they teach you there, if you can go out and find your own funds, balance your own portfolio and build up your own investments the way you want, you can essentially go out and strip out that 0.5% fee by doing it yourself. Now, to take it a step further, we can recall that with Questrade, they do offer ETF purchases for free. So what I'm saying is that if you knew how to go out and replicate a Wealthsimple portfolio, or at least some sort of index investing portfolio on Questrade, you're no longer paying that 0.5% management fee. You get to purchase them for free. To me, this gives you much more control over your investments. To me, this is a great place for beginners to start that do want to be more hands-on. Again, you do have to know what you're doing here in the sense that you have to know what investments you want to buy and what proportions you want to buy. If you don't know what you want to do there, I would say rely on the 50% management fee for the robo-advice, for that autopilot service. But if you can do it yourself, to me, you are saving a ton in fees. And when your account size does become much bigger, that does come into play quite a bit. Now, of course, that's just talking about ETF investing. If you did want to go for individual stocks, which I think is what a lot of people do want to do, I still like to use Questrade. I don't mind at all paying the $4.95 commission to go out and buy stocks because, again, I feel like it's the best all-around platform in terms of user interface. You get the app and the computer, as well as I like the combination of free ETF purchases. But also for anybody that is just starting out, especially if you're just trying to dabble, like if you just want to get started and see what investing is like, this is where Wealthsimple Trade comes into play. And this is where I believe you can use your phone, you can easily wire money over and learn to buy and sell individual stocks with this platform. Again, now that you can do it in a sheltered plan like the TFSA and RSP, in terms of strictly individual stock investing, I do now put Wealthsimple Trade up there with Questrade. But again, because it's strictly mobile, because you do hear the odd stories about some glitches and it's not a full encompassing program or platform, I don't mind paying the $4.95 fee. But if you're somebody that is really worried about the cost, you don't meet that $1,000 minimum, you just want to start with some small money and really dabble, get your feet wet with investing, I would say Wealthsimple Trade does push its way up now that we've done an updated version of this. But, and in terms of the banks, they don't even really make my list, with all due respect. Again, I love the look of them. I love the accessibility, but just right now in terms of the costs, to me, it either dials down to either Questrade or Wealthsimple Trade. I hope that made some sort of sense. It did even sound confusing as I came out of my mouth here. So when I watch that back, I'll have to see if that made any sense. But if you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. As well as if I did miss anything in terms of, you use one of these platforms and you realized, hey, you forgot to mention this, or there's an aspect or a feature that I didn't talk about, leave that down below. So of course I can learn and so that others can learn as well. But do keep in mind that these are just my opinions. Again, you can call them biased because I've only ever used Questrade. I've used Wealthsimple Trade as well, not Wealthsimple, the platform. But I'm just sharing with you guys honestly what I believe. Like I said, don't break your back over choosing your broker. This is just one aspect of the holistic investing picture. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, feel free to give this one a thumbs up. If you learned something new, drop a thumbs up. That's a great way of showing your support. Also, subscribe to the channel. We do post a video every week. And like I said, if you are a beginner and you want some guidance, you want kind of your handheld on setting up your accounts and building up your portfolio, you can learn more about our Investing Academy. We're helping beginners every day go from nothing to having their account set up and investing on their own. But as always, I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.